Kevin O'Loughlin speaks about the Hugheses and, from Westport and Port West, that brand, that by just being on a bus or in somebody's company, and when they're talking maybe 200x and you're thinking of doubling your revenue the year ahead, when you're put in that kind of group of people, does it actually change your focus or your vision on where the business can go?
Totally. Like, I think I went over there thinking we were amazing and, our turnover was brilliant and, we're the best. And then I got talking to a couple of people and realised there's a bit to go. There's speaking to people and they have a turnover of maybe 100 million. They have a head count of, 300 to 500 people. It does inspire. It kind of does go to show what can be done in business. So.
How is the industry reacting and adapting? Is it reacting quick enough to really, really gain the advantages that these new systems can bring, or is it being slowed down? Is it hard to change mindsets in an industry?
Yeah, you've hit the head of the nail there. I mean, it's really challenging to change traditional mindset. And I suppose in terms of modern methods of construction and in the BIM world of 3D and the 3D environment, we've been advocates of it now for the last, 15 years. And it's taken that length of time to get us to where we are today. And we have another 15 years of a journey in front of us in terms of the whole industry changing. It needs to be driven primarily, by government. If governments do enact modern methods of construction, contractors will follow because it will be termed that it's pioneered and it's actually part of legislative process to get it done. There's enormous benefits in modern methods of construction, and anybody will tell you that are in it. The biggest problem in the industry is that we don't have a steady order book. So what happens is you have fluctuation throughout the whole year of peaks and troughs, which is extremely hard to manage. And that in terms of pipeline, I suppose, in order for the government to deliver the housing plan, the pipeline needs to be bigger, involving modern methods of construction. Because you've got two barriers. You've got the first barrier of changing traditionalism, and the second barrier then is to change the pipeline. Like, the pipeline needs to be there, and all modern methods of construction companies in the country right now are exactly in the same place. There's a lull, albeit that there's an enormous demand for the product and for housing, and we have a situation where we have too much fluctuation. One day it's flat out, the next day you're looking at what's going to happen tomorrow. So it really does need to be addressed by government. It's critical at this point in time for the survival of modern methods of construction companies and people who have invested in it. And I'm not the only one, there's many in the industry who have invested very heavily in trying to bring solutions, innovation, more sustainable practice and efficiency to the construction industry.
And of course, I think there's always the macro environment piece to that too, because construction has traditionally been seen as kind of a boom and bust type industry, that when things are good in the country, it's flying it. But all of a sudden, if things fall off a cliff edge or there's a recession, construction suffers. And that should never be the case. It should be at a stable level. And you say a proper pipeline for the next 10 years. And I mean, it's not that the work isn't out there.
Well, if we just look at our country as a whole, we have an enormous amount of work to do. And the government, to be fair, have an enormous challenge in front of them, albeit the surplus is there and the finances are strong. Our water infrastructure, our civil infrastructure, our power network and our housing are four critical elements of our pipeline of life for the future generations. And we have an enormous amount of work to do. It isn't like practical to say that we can't start it. They actually have to do something about it very, very quickly, or we'll have breakdown. We have developers at the moment in the country who actually can't get water connections and electrical connections to their housing, and they have housing ready. There was a developer on the local media this weekend had to actually let people go because you can't get civil infrastructure in a development in Dublin. So there is a massive problem in terms of trying to deliver the requirement of Ireland, because, to be fair, for so long there was a period of time where there was very little or nothing done.
For negotiations in trade tariffs like this, is it really something that's left to the EU, or how does Ireland as a country get its voice heard in those negotiations?
Well, I think it's also key for the indigenous economy because, first of all, we have so many on the agri-food side that really rely on exports to the US. And if you look at from Enterprise Ireland's perspective, we have about 950 individual clients who export to the US They employ 60,000 people right across our country, and they're responsible for about 20% of the 36.75 billion euro exports that Enterprise Ireland have. So that's a very significant sector in the Indigenous economy. And one thing that really strikes me, if you look at the top 10 firms in Ireland, Irish-born Indigenous firms, they currently now employ about 450,000 people, both in Ireland and internationally. And when you consider our FDI, which employ about 302,000, which is 11% of our population, it gives a huge amount of tax take. But unfortunately, the tariffs are bad for both. It's one of those key things that really, it's an arm of uncertainty. And what you see, Ronan, is those businesses that are making decisions, be it, it might be the next line of research, development or innovation projects that they're going to bring in. It could be, deciding whether to increase their holding here in Ireland, and they're worried about what would the US think if we make that decision. And those are the key uncertainties that really hang over us now and are quite worrying from our perspective.
Tariffs, have they caused you sleepless nights? Does the 15% announcement give you an element of security, or do you just kind of take it day by day and see what comes out of the White House next?
Yeah, there's a lot of information or disinformation coming from America. It's easy to lose sleep over it. I suppose I'm the CEO of a hazardous waste management company. We have maybe 1 million litres of flammable liquids on the site at any one time. So there's lots of things to keep you awake at night. I just try to focus day to day, run the business as best we can. I suppose so far this year our business is up quite a lot because the pharmaceutical sector are trying to get ahead of tariffs. So it's meant that they are actually producing more drugs, and ultimately that's producing more waste. So far this year we're actually having an excellent year. Who knows with the second half.
You took your time at the start, but if we can nearly slice off 5 years because of what happened in 2020, never mind what's happening in 2025, you remain optimistic though, and you expect the markets and business to remain steady despite all the uncertainty that's out there at present.
Yeah, I mean, when we started, as you say, 2020, you had Brexit, you obviously had COVID. We were a young enough business, and we withstood that, and we knuckled down. Then we had, inflation. We had Ukraine and Russia. Now we have the T factor, which is the tariff factor coming into play, which creates more uncertainty. And I think a business owner, that's the worst place to be, uncertain of where you're going in the future. Having said that, most businesses are very, very resilient, and when they focus in on it, to a certain extent, there's a lot of talk, and it can be a distraction. And here we are today. Ireland is still doing well. Businesses are still doing well, and employment is at an incredible low level. The tariffs haven't kicked in as of yet. So the impact of those, we are seeing some slowdown, I think, in people, making sure that the investments that they're making, whether it's in plant or in property, they're making prudent investments. Having said that, I think like everything else, life goes on, and we need to just move on with the times, rather than looking over our shoulder too much.
Well, because as well as showing that women are commanding maybe a slightly higher fee for contract work on a daily basis, you've also noticed that women over 50 actually are becoming kind of a prime candidate for these contract roles.
Absolutely. Not even just women. In general, people over 50 are being highlighted as a high demand skill there. I remember maybe, 10 years ago in recruitment, people would come to me in their 40s and they would say, I need to move now, because if I don't move now, I'm not going to be employable. The perception out there was that people, once they hit a certain age, which was 50 and over 50, they didn't have the skills, the technology, that experience that was required in companies. That has changed. That perception has changed now, where companies are looking at the people over 50 they're valued for their professional experience. They bring a lot of reliability. They have a good understanding of knowledge and very good, strong problem-solving skills. And companies want to nurture the younger talent. And by that, you bring in somebody that maybe is older and has that level of experience, and bring that younger talent up along the ranks as well. So definitely we are seeing that barrier being lifted where people over 50 are more are as employable now as somebody that was younger. So it is great to see that change there.
I mentioned you to somebody this morning, actually, before we'd even set up this interview, because we were talking about teenagers and work experience.
Right,
I think you ran with Will Faulkner sometime this year or last year talking about how, I think you said that everybody should do a little stint in hospitality. It teaches you so much about dealing with people and the public. This evening I saw where you posted online, and it was a reshare of an FRS post, and it says, milk it. Someone tell teenagers they can earn more milking cows than making fancy coffee.
Yeah.
Discuss.
So look, we had a big article in the Irish Independent today. It got taken up around, you can basically, a teenager can probably earn 16 to 18 euros an hour milking cows. Some of them, but then look, could they do it before school? Probably not, but maybe there are people doing it. But if you look at it particularly for transition year, I think there's a huge opportunity. One, there's a dearth of talent in agriculture. We've about 1,000 people milking cows every morning. We could do it probably another 1,000. The international workers, do solve some of the problem, but we do see a big potential to get, like, one of the problems with farms out there at the moment is not just the talent, but it's actually who's going to, take over those farms, succession. And what we really need to do, even with the kids who are living on farms, is get them into other farms, experiencing, what it's like to get out there, earn some money on the top of it, and develop that, I suppose, talent that's going to run our farms for the future.
Absolutely. And what a way of learning a great work ethic too, maybe twice a day. But at 18 euros an hour, I'd say there's plenty of ears picking up this evening.
Someone texted me today, though, do they understand it's not like standing in a barista bar, you know what I mean, looking good with the hair sort of slicked back than the moustache.
Cows won't give you any guff, though.
No,
they won't speak back to you. And,
but it's hard. It's hard work, but it's really fulfilling, and I think a really great thing for young people to look at.
I love how you mentioned an urban town. We're in the Midlands. We're only about 2 minutes from a farm at any stage, so it's not unfeasible for somebody to actually get out and go to here. But clearly a huge need to make people aware that they're there. Based on those pilots, what happens with Intro to Ag next?
Yeah, so as I said, the pilots were really, really successful, and we're really grateful for the schools and the Ag Science coordinators who took them on, because with any pilot, they're not really a fine oil machine, and ourselves in AgriAware are going back and making some tweaks. Now this September, Ronan, we're rolling out nationally, so it's going across the country. So any school, any secondary school, any TY group and any secondary school across the island can now avail of the programme. And again, it's that piece of highlighting the opportunities within the sector, and it's really, as I said, demystifying the ag sectors for everybody.
When you took the plunge and decided you were going to get back into business and open up mullingarhomevet.ie, did you get any supports? Did you look to people? Did you suss out the market, or what was it propelled you to, or how did you go about, I suppose, determining the brand and setting up the business in the first place?
Yeah, I actually went back to the same guy that I used 30 years ago for my branding, and his kind of jaw dropped when he answered the phone to me, we took up where we left off. He knows the business well, and I feel that branding for a business is very, very important. Your image will speak words for you. My biggest challenge was digital marketing and social media. I had no idea how. I never got involved in social media. Prior to this, my premises was my advertising board. It advertised for me and what we did and our work that we did in Mullingar. So I contacted Leo there in Mullingar, and I'm very grateful to lovely people there in the local enterprise, Dean and his crew there. So they helped me out in this regard, and they put me in touch with a great girl there called Elaine Bradley Ryan, and she's been mentoring me for the last 2 or 3 months.
Into things like, I suppose, the way that the working world shifted a little bit during COVID, this whole thing of remote working from home. You've had vastly different stories, journeys to get to Cantabria. Who's your target audience? Who listening this evening, sitting in the Midlands, goes, yes, I can do that? And also, who's thinking, no, I couldn't do that? And you're going to say, yes, you can.
I think what we've seen it was more in the last 2 years since we've been living in Cantabria, we've seen a huge increase in people who are either working remotely or they're on digital nomad visas or they're digital nomads. And that has really allowed people, like when I moved to Spain over 10 years ago, there was only one profession that an English speaker could get, and that was you had to teach English, which is what I did for years, and that's what everybody did. But now the world of remote work has opened up so many opportunities for people that they can say, well, I want to live in this place that gives me a better work-life balance, and being able to work remotely allows them to do that.
And to bring the family as well, you know, that maybe one or two of the parents work and the children can go to school there, and you know, property prices are a hell of a lot lower than they are here. There's really such an option now than what there was before. And also I think for those who travel with their work as well, so there's many, you know, that they may need to be 6 days out of the month in an office. Well, you've got Santander Airport, which has, you know, flights to Dublin every other day, and you've got Bilbao Airport, which is an hour away from Santander, which has flights every other day. So you've got Ryanair into Santander, and you've got Aer Lingus from Bilbao, and then obviously routes across Europe depending on what their role is. So.
You're not exactly going off grid or isolating yourself from family in the working world as well.
And internet is really good as well. So